one of the things I wanted to check was the temperature here. And we want the black probe on the left side and the white one, or the red one on the other. 2.754. You see that on there? Yeah, okay. It's supposed to run between the range of up to 264, something like that, at 68 degrees, but it's only about 62 degrees in the shop, so it's within normal, so I'm happy with that one. And then this little green plug in here, and to get it off, there's a push down part on the plug, and just slide it back in. It sticks. Okay, the next we're going to check is this guy right here. You can't see it. I've been checking the air pressure sensor. It's this little blue thing on the side. It's supposed to be like 3 something range between, you know, like 3 to 4.5 volts when you turn the key switch on, with the probes across the pink and white and the blue leads. But when I get it in there and I check to make certain my little probes are in on the clips, I get like a negative 37 volts. But if I pull out the ground one and put it to ground, I get 3.57, which is correct. And I just did a diagnostic test, and it says when you start the engine and you get a pressure pressure change, then everything's working fine. So, but when I went into the diagnostics, got fault codes 13, 22, and 30. When the 30s, well, I tipped it over when I left the gas station when it died on me, because I had the handlebars at an angle, and that's neither here nor there. But I'm pretty sure when I was testing these things with the unplugged, they sent a code to the control module that was the problem. And when I was out with the actual T-Max Fever on the side of the road, I forgot that I had the sheet I'd printed out, typed up and printed out, of doing the diagnostic test, because I'd forgotten how to do it if I didn't have the book. And I should have done it out there to see what I had, but I'll do some writing here. It's going to be hot when I get done with this thing and see if there's any changes. But I just wanted to let you know that, you know, that was a test. The temperature one came in fine. This one was kind of funky, but I was getting the voltage. If I went straight from the pink and white to ground, I got the correct voltage, but across the two I wasn't getting the right voltage, but the diagnostics said it was okay. So I may have to do some more research on that and see how much expensive one of these guys is, and maybe I should have done the test before I made the order for the parts. So hindsight. Well, let's put some distilled water in here. This system holds 1.56 quarts, so that would be about 3 pints, a little over 3 pints. So this is the first one. Go ahead and do the rest off camera. Okay, we got it. I had the kill switch on so it wouldn't do anything. Now this is something interesting. I'm going to show you the first pump I had in there, the OEM. It would pump up after the initial pump, you know, build up when you turn the key on, and would stay there. That last pump I had would go up and then drop back off to 0. So I'm wondering what, it must be a different kind of pump. This motor must have a here, talk. This motor must have, the OEM motor must have a check valve in it somewhere, so it doesn't drain out. The last one would. So I'm still maintaining pressure. So I don't know. Oh well, it's a T-Max. Expect anything. Mostly the worst. In order to get this damn plug in here, the arms are really tough getting out. You can get to this one, but the one on the back side here, I discovered there's a slot right here behind the gas cap that you can get a screwdriver in on this back side and then push it up. You can see it in there, not push this back one, the hidden one, in to where you can push down on the damn thing. So now I got that, looks like it's down. It's time to send the plug here. You'd think they would come up with something a little more 20th century. Get in there. And then there's two little, there we go. Two little prongs that push out the side latches, and then this thing's got its own little latch that has to go underneath the thing here too. What a pain. Well, got her outside. Got the Morgan carb tune hooked up to the little inlet pipes. Motor sounds different than the original one. Gonna let it idle for a while, warm up the temperature, get a good check on the. Yeah, they're balanced right now. I reset them at the air screws at 1 and either I can't remember at 1.5 or 1.25 out from dead all the way in, and we'll see how that runs. I was thinking, you know, when before I'd had some problems, and I was thinking that maybe it might have been I'd stopped number 1 air screw down too far, because it was like a half turn from being closed. Number 2 was like 1.5 turns out. So I may even raise them up, because one of the things that I noticed when I first got the Morgan carb tune and I did this first balance, the book specs called higher than what the Morgan was reading, so then I just assumed that what I was getting was going to be the standard from then on, but I think maybe it might have been set lower at the factory than what it should have been. I'm going to take a look at it, seeing how it when it warms up again. So I'm also going to check the fault codes later too, but let me go ahead and warm it up and get the water circulating and look for leaks. You know, once it warmed up, I went underneath and adjusted them down, so they're pumping about 24.2, which was spec when I first got this thing, and I had to turn both screws in just a little bit, so they're probably somewhere around 3/4 open, which is what the book says. If you pull the screws out, start them out both at 3/4 turns from fully closed, so I'm happy. It's up to temperature now, so seems to run okay. Take her in and flush her. Okay, this is the next day. I'll let it cool down overnight, and you can see the water's coming out clear. So yeah, a little discoloration in there. So there was a little bit of antifreeze that was caught up, most likely down here in the lowest part, which would be the oil cooler. Let me go ahead and tip this thing over a little bit. And you can get a little bit extra out. But that's all distilled water, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. You can see some of those little red flakes down on the bottom there. Some sort of scale or something that came out of the radiator. So it was a good thing I flushed it with some distilled water. And you can see a little bit of discoloration, kind of a greenish tint. So there was a little bit left. So let's put the regular antifreeze in it. It's going to be orange. Yeah, I just wanted to add this 90-degree screwdriver with these really square, flat blades. Work great on that little plug. And then we've got the orange, the Texaco. I'll slowly pour this in. When I put in what I thought was the right amount of water, when I just pulled up the plug, it was low before I drained it, so I will probably take this outside to start it up and then top it off after the thermostat opens. And I can see a little bit of movement inside the filler spout. Well, we're up to the neck. Well, I filled it up to where it's right down below where it's supposed to be. And so we'll fill this up to the A mark, which is the higher maximum mark. And this will, I've had just plain water in there, but now with the with this stuff, it'll be a lot easier to see. Okay. I'm going to run this outside and fire it up for a little bit. That's a little side note. Somebody had asked me how you get a hold of or get into the air filter, and the air filter cover is right back here, and you take off the panel up here on the top that goes around the keys. You know, 2 screws up here, and then it just lifts off, and then these 2 screws here. Well, actually there's 3. There's one down here for this panel. But these 2 screws, and then these 2 panels come off, and they give you access to the air filter. That's that part. One thing I did to the banana panels was they had these little fittings that plugged in on the back of the panel. I don't know why. I mean, they got a perfect air scoop in there, which could, you know, force some air in. So I took them off. I'm going to run with them out and stick them on, because that gives you some perfect perfect air scoop back in there. And then there's enough room on outside the fuel tank that it should come out back in here. I was half tempted to cut some holes, louvers of some kind back in here to let the heat go out that way as you're riding along, so it doesn't get so hot inside. You can't do anything about it when you come to a stop unless you ride around with this panel off, the one that's over the injectors, and then the heat can come out that way. And I think I might just ride that way if I get really, well, you never know. I mean, I'm not going to take any more T-Max fever. I've had enough. So if it happens again, it's gone. So let me put the screws in, and then this will finish up this one. It's taken me about an hour and a half to put all the panels back on after I put the antifreeze in it, and no screws left over. And these little bags are worth their weight in gold for keeping things straight, because if you just put them in a bucket, you would never remember where they went, because there's some pop pins that are different size, different diameters, different lengths, and the screws with the different heads can get confusing. I did find a spot down in here where I had a screw that was missing. I lost somewhere along the line. I don't know whether I didn't put it back in or it just backed out because I didn't get it down tight enough. So I was able to find another, actually just a number 10 or number 12 sheet metal screw, stainless, that I stuck in there. I think it was about a 3/4 of an inch or one inch maybe. It was the same as the Yamaha uses. So let me finish this up, and we'll see you later. Bye.